Hey everyone, this is your host, Candace Cordelia, coming to you with another fantastic episode with Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And if you can't already tell, I am here with the Chelsea Green. How are you, Chelsea?
The hot mess fits me perfectly right now. I just got off of the road after being at Ring of Honor and Impact. So what's going on right now is how I live my life when I'm at home. High pony and workout gear 24/7.
I mean, it fits the mood though, right? Because we're coming slowly out of this pandemic and we've been at home for so long. You've been traveling, so we'll definitely get into that. But you know what? You're at home, you're just chilling, PJ sweats, hair up in a ponytail. Like you can't go wrong with that, right? So
Exactly.
yeah. So I do want to also add, because I always follow what you're getting up to on social media, and I noticed that your phone fell in the toilet recently. I was like, what is happening? I love it because it was just, you're so relatable. And I think that's why a lot of people really gravitate to you and really love you, besides being an amazing talent in the ring, but you're just super relatable. So, I mean, how has life been with, you have a lot of things going on. You just said you've been traveling, Ring of Honor, Impact. Like what's happening right now for you?
Oh man, it's been really crazy. I mean, it's funny, I went the last 86 days or so kind of doing nothing, but also just planning for this like surge of whatever was to come after my 90-day non-compete ended. But nothing can prepare you, especially once, we went through this whole pandemic and I was at home throughout basically all of it. Like everybody else was, I really wasn't going into work that much. So it has been like 0 to 100. It's been crazy. And now I'm trying to get back in that routine of being on the road and being away from Matt and the dogs and the cats and getting the laundry done like a normal human being.
And what is the day in a life like for you as a wrestler? I mean, has it been different now versus when you were with WWE, or do you find that some things post WWE haven't really completely changed for you being back on the road?
I never experienced being on the road with WWE. So it was funny because pre-WWE, I was on the road a lot, but I watched Matt go on the road every single week nonstop. And I thought like, oh my gosh, it is going to be so hard when I get to WWE, whenever that is. And I'm on the road. And then I got to WWE and I never left Orlando really. I think I went on the road maybe 3 times in 2.5 years. So, it is definitely a lot different. I am back to, being on the road, whether it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday for indies, or, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for Impact, whatever it is for Ring of Honor. It's a lot of time away from home and I have to adjust, but also I have the luxury of already knowing what life on the road was like on the indies. And now I can decide, I can be a little more picky and decide, what do I want to leave home for? And I'm definitely not oversaturating the world with myself like I did before. I do want to spend time at home and throughout the pandemic, I've made my home kind of my sanctuary. So I don't want to leave it.
Yeah. And speaking of home, because I am also a pet owner. So I love the fact that, I'm going to plug this because we have to for PWI, but I want to. It's not we have to, I want to. So first and foremost, punching up with Jordan Grace, her column. We featured Dude the Bernadoodle. So I'm gonna give this out.
My handsome.
Cute.
Oh,
I
love
it. Cute. Yeah, it's and I can't believe that Dude is only a year old. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Because he's huge, but he's gorgeous. So I want to give that shout out because Matt also plugged that on Twitter. And I was like, this is too cute. So I'm curious personally about how many pets you and Matt have and how you came to just be animal owners. Because I think it's really, also being on the road, I assume that it's hard sometimes to have to like divvy up responsibilities and all of that.
Yeah, so we have 3 cats now and 2 dogs. We started with one cat that we quickly got a second for him because we were on the road. We wanted to make sure he kind of had a friend. We felt guilty leaving him. The third cat came about because I saw him on Instagram. All of our cats are adopted, and I saw Waffles on Instagram. He's a Siamese, and I just fell in love with him. He was rescued from like a junkyard, and him and his sister actually didn't survive. But he did. He had to be bottle fed like a little baby. And I just fell in love with him. So we adopted him. And then we gave it a little bit of time before the pandemic hit. And we kind of spoke about getting a dog. And that was the perfect time to actually take the time to train the dog and be home with the dog. Dogs are a lot of work. We have 2 dogs now. We have Dude and we have Walt. So we've got 5 animals in total, and it's a lot of work, but we absolutely love it. And it's the best feeling in the world to come home to 5 happy animals.
That is so adorable. I love that. And I know myself being a pet owner, it's hard, they're like your babies. So even if you go down the street to get, a carton of milk or something, you're just like, oh, I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, it's definitely hard when we leave, and both of us were at Impact this weekend. Mm-hmm. And it was really tough. We definitely were ready to get back home and see all the boys. But, we have I've made so many different connections here in Orlando. So we've got our pet sitters, and we've got the pet hotel, and we've got the, daytime pet sitters. And we've got a whole team of people that if we need backup help, we've got them.
Right. It takes a village, right? That's really, really nice. Really nice. So let's get into Impact because there's so much going on. Slammiversary. You came back to a huge pop. People were so excited and amped to see you alongside Matt, your fiance, Matt Cardona. But one thing that a lot of folks were really they were really either pleased or struck to see is that it's you and Matt versus Matt's ex, Tennille Dashwood, and Brian Myers. I know you talked about this on your podcast, and I was really intrigued about your perspective on the whole just seeing her and being in the ring with her and Brian and Matt and everything coming together. What were your thoughts backstage when this was all, marinating before you got out in the ring? And you were like, okay, not only is this happening, but I'm also coming back to Impact.
I think I was just more so excited because I knew coming back to Impact, whatever it was that I did, it needed to make an impact. It needed to be something different. And I needed to give the people a reason to want to tune in. And I feel like there couldn't have been a better real life storyline than that. People were truly invested because they're invested in my relationship with Matt, and they were invested in his relationship with Tennille years ago. And so for them to kind of see this transpire in front of their own eyes, I think is a reason why a lot of people tuned into that match. It could have been very awkward and very uncomfortable, but it truly wasn't. I mean, it's weird that it wasn't, but it really wasn't. And I was just looking forward to, I think, the minute that my music hits and I make my entrance, all I'm thinking about really is going out there and putting on the best show for the live audience that I can. I'm really not thinking about anything else after that.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's very mature of everyone. You're all grown adults, and at the end of the day, you just want to do what you do in the ring. So it's fantastic that not only are you back, but we're seeing this really cool soap opera-y, feud play out, which I think personally is really, really amazing. So I'm really amped to see that come to fruition even more. Another thing that some fans are interested in, and myself included, we saw you come back to Impact, but we also saw Mickie James. And, for those that have followed you and Mickie for years on end, especially when you both were at WWE, I mean, you guys were kind of coming up with your own storyline, it seemed. So curious to know, is this something that we can potentially see play out at Impact or perhaps, NWA, another promotion? Your thoughts?
I mean, I definitely think that there's always a possibility. And I hope that we can see it somewhere. I think that Mickey and I want it even more than everybody else wants it, than all you guys want it. Like, we want it so bad. We were so excited for that storyline at WWE that didn't happen. So never say never. Right now, I think she's so focused on getting Empower off the ground and having that first pay-per-view, women's pay-per-view. So I'm not going to bug her yet, but in time I will be making sure it happens.
Oh gosh, did you guys have any conversation backstage at Impact? Like, did anything go down?
Oh yeah. I mean, she's so great. And I text her all the time. And like, we've really become close since everything transpired at WWE. And so when she came to Impact, I was so excited. I knew that might be the case, but I wasn't totally sure if she was coming. So it was good to see her. And I mean, yeah, we can kind of bond over our similar craziness.
Similar craziness indeed, but that's the wrestling industry, right? You never know what's going to happen. And speaking of, you also showed up recently at Ring of Honor. You're an entrant into the Women's World Championship tournament, which is also amazing news. So congratulations to you on that. How did that come about? Because I think that shocked fans even more so than your Impact entrant.
So when I first was released from WWE, that's one of the first people I contacted. Impact was an easy contact. I already stayed in touch with everybody there. But I had a personal connection with Maria from working together at Impact. So when I was released, she was one of the first people that I called to see if Ring of Honor had anything potentially for me. I've always wanted to work for Ring of Honor. And for some reason, it just never worked out. But I felt like this was my time to show up at Ring of Honor. I didn't necessarily want to sign anywhere because I wanted to make sure that I got everything on my bucket list checked off. But we decided, that they were going to have this women's tournament and I could be a participant in that. Unfortunately, of course, a couple weeks before I was supposed to debut as an entrant in the women's championship tournament, I broke my arm. So I wasn't able to actually wrestle in the tournament because the Maryland Athletic Commission wouldn't let me. So moving forward, you won't actually see me wrestle yet in Ring of Honor. But, in a month or two, I will be wrestling. So for now, for the women's tournament, I'm going to be watching, I'm going to be doing commentary, I'm going to be sitting ringside and all that stuff to just see kind of what my competition is like moving forward. But I'm really, really grateful that Ring of Honor has allowed me to still be a part of, the Best in the World pay-per-view and the tapings moving forward, because they could have just said, hey, you're injured, call us when you're not. And they didn't. And I'm very thankful for that, because I think that my promo at Best in the World really surprised people. I think that was a great little shock for the wrestling world. Like, hey, you cannot guess where I'm going to pop up next.
And speaking of, I thought I was going to see you at Fyter Fest for All Elite Wrestling. I really was, just glued to my seat thinking, I wonder if I'm going to see Chelsea. But I know you've spoken about wanting to work with AEW and NWA and all of these other promotions. So it sounds like that's kind of perhaps in the works. I know you might not be able to say everything. If you want to scoop us, you can. But it seems like you have time to really get things together and get your ducks in the row and work things out for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I am staying a free agent so that I can do all these things and so that you can see me on all these different shows. And so I would never rule out one or the other or say I'm not going to do something. Like, you never know where I'm going to show up next. Right now, I haven't spoken to AEW, but who's to say that won't happen tonight or tomorrow? I have so many friends at AEW and so many people that are succeeding there that I don't see how I couldn't end up being a part of that show in one way or another.
Yeah. And let's talk about your arm, because one thing, before we got into this conversation, I did mention that I'm a fan of your podcast, and it's for me, it's difficult to get invested in a podcast. It's my attention span, so forth and so on. So if you catch my interest right away, that's amazing because you really have to clinch my personal interest. And your podcast is just it's binge worthy. I can't stop listening to it. And you talked about, having bad luck with your arm and getting injured, back to back to back. So the prognosis, it sounds like it's healing up nicely. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, thank you for listening to the podcast. That means a lot to me. It's healing up. I'm going for a follow-up appointment with my surgeon tomorrow. So I should find out, how it's looking and what my recovery time is like. At this point, I mean, it's kind of hard to say like what the future is going to hold for this arm because, this arm has given me a lot of grief in the past year and a half, 2 years, but I'm just so happy that I was able to attempt to wrestle with a cast on for the past few days at Impact. It didn't stop me. I don't think it hindered my performance. So we'll see what happens moving forward. My surgeon might not be happy with me though.
Your surgeon is probably like, please stop for just a moment. Just let it.
Yeah. My surgeon knows that like he thinks I'm crazy anyway. So we joke about it all the time when I go in. So it'll be interesting. I'll show him my clips of Slammiversary and I'll see what he says.
It's all good. It's all good. I want to kind of go back to the very beginning because you're from Canada and I personally am not. I know of the scene, a little bit of the wrestling scene in Canada, but how did Chelsea Green growing up in Victoria, how did you come to the conclusion that you wake up one day and you're like, yeah, I want to be a wrestler. This is something that I want to do with my life.
Well, I actually was going to school in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I had the TV on while I was doing homework, and one thing led to another, and I was like so deep in watching Monday Night Raw, and Nikki Bella was wrestling. I can't remember who she was wrestling at the time, maybe Trinity, but I'm not totally sure. And I was so into it, and I just kept thinking like, I feel like I could do that. I've always played sports my whole life. And then I've also always been drawn to character work and acting and just being like a drama queen in general. So watching that match, I was just like, I could totally do that. And I remember closing my homework and Googling how to be a WWE diva. And that's actually how I found Lance Storm's wrestling school. And it happened to just be 10 minutes away from where I was at the time, just by crazy coincidence. And I think maybe 2 weeks later, I was enrolled and I was learning how to be a wrestler, and I had fallen madly in love with it.
Oh my goodness. What did your family think about this development?
Oh my gosh. My family thought it was absolutely nuts. They all laughed at me. I went home for Christmas vacation. I told them I was going to be a wrestler. They all laughed at me. They had no idea what I was talking about. And honestly, I didn't either. Like I had no idea, but I'm one of those people where if you want to do something, I feel you have to put it out there publicly, whether it's to your family, your friends, or Twitter or whatever. And that way there's people to hold you accountable. So I went home and I told them, and I told my boyfriend at the time, and they all thought I was totally nuts and nobody knew where it had come from. But the people that know me best, once they saw me wrestle, really, they were like, okay, this makes sense. Like, this is totally something that is perfect for her. It just took a little time for them to get, come around to it.
Yeah, like a lot of things, right? And you also expressed on your podcast and publicly about your love for Playboy and wanting to post for Playboy. I was listening to the story of, you attempting to do this even before becoming a professional wrestler. And that story, it's really intriguing because I think, things come full circle. Even if we don't, we're in the moment of certain things and dreams that we have, and we may not even know why we're doing it, just like you expressed with wanting to be a wrestler. And now it's like a whole complete 360 with you being a professional wrestler. And, you said that you've had talks with Playboy. Playboy no longer has the print edition, but they still do things online. So are you still in talks with them? Are you still, in terms of your podcast and other things, is that still percolating in the background for you?
Yeah, it is. They've had numerous meetings about what they want to do moving forward, how they want Playboy to look, what they want their platforms to look like. And hopefully I've been in talks for some of those things. But, you know, I've done all I can do, and now I just have to leave it up to fate. Whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I continue to check in with Playboy and Barstool and all these companies that I have kind of been manifesting. And I do think that come 2022, something will, you know, come to light. Something will work out. But we just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. And why Playboy? Why not Maxim? Or because I know that growing up, that was a huge, at least in, you know, for me, that was another huge magazine. And Playboy always seemed to be the pinnacle. But why Playboy? What is it about Playboy that really struck you as a place where you wanted to pose for and do things for, and the message that you want to help build your brand against?
I think what I stand for is just destigmatizing the things that have kind of a negative stigma. I've really been debating in the past couple of weeks starting an OnlyFans to do that too, like to try to help destigmatize OnlyFans. And that's the same with Playboy. I really, you know, I loved like the girls next door and stuff like that. My sister and I always followed Playboy from a young age. We, when social media became a thing, we were always following Playboy to see who the new Playboy of the month, Playmate of the month is, and things like that. So I've always had just an interest. I think that my family and I are very open, with everything. I mean, they knew when I like lost my virginity and awkward things like that. We're very open with each other. And so I have grown up with this kind of energy in my family. Like, you can do whatever you want, and who cares what people think? You know, you want to be a wrestler? Go ahead, be a wrestler. You want to pose with your boobs out? I guess we don't really want you to, but you know what? We'll support you. Like, they've just been so supportive of everything that I've done. And that's kind of another, I guess, kind of like a little part of me is like a rebellious teenager forever that wants to do things that other people are like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Relatable. I hear you. And, you know, you talked a lot about body confidence, empowerment, which once again, you express a lot on your podcast. It's really important for young girls, women to know that it's okay to be comfortable with yourself and comfortable in your body. And you seem to be an ambassador for that. Was there ever a moment, you know, in your wrestling journey where you felt yourself kind of doubting yourself, and not just with your talent, but with your body? Did that come with the territory of being a wrestler at any point?
I work really, really hard for the way I look, like, and I have since I was like about 16. I was really into fitness, working out, eating healthy, all that kind of stuff. So I don't let the public's opinion of my body affect me. However, I can't help but when someone says I'm ugly or whatever they call me, like, you can't help but it does negatively affect you. And unfortunately, right now, Twitter is just such a toxic place. And with, you know, cancel culture and body shaming and trying to put women in a box, all that kind of stuff, you know, I can't help, but sometimes it affects me. Sometimes it does get to me. I just try to be as confident as I possibly can. And even when I'm not feeling that confident or I'm not having a great day, you know, I just, I try to put good energy into the world, especially on social media, because that's what people know of me, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's important and it seems to become more and more prevalent as time goes on. So to hear a wrestler be candid about that, I think is really telling for our viewers and just the world in general. So
yeah, I really do think that people forget that we're humans and we read those notifications and we see, you know, like just like you see your notifications, like I see when people say nasty things to me, and sometimes I go to sleep at night and think like, dang, like, does everybody hate me or does everyone think I'm ugly? But at the end of the day, like, I'm happy in my relationship. I'm confident. I don't need to let Twitter or whatever dictate how I live my life, right? None of us should.
mm-hmm. we got to pivot to your relationship because that's also a topic that people love to talk about. You and Matt Cardona. It is what it is. And they're just, you're navigating it, like superstars as you do. So, congratulations, because I did read that y'all are getting married New Year's Eve, I believe, in 2022, yes. Which is amazing, especially given the year up to 2 years that we've had in this country or this world that, we want to celebrate happy moments and happy things. So congrats to you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have you guys started planning at all? Because life is a bit, I'm sure it's crazy. There's so much happening, have wedding plans started, or are you guys kind of waiting until the rest of the year rather?
So wedding plans have started. I'm really like easygoing with the wedding planning. So like my wedding planner just kind of every couple weeks checks in and says like, okay, do this. I get it done. And then we move on. I would say Matt is more of a groomzilla. He's got very set opinions and standards on how a wedding should be. And I guess I didn't realize like maybe Canadian weddings are much more laid back than New York weddings. So that's something I've learned. Matt has a lot of needs for a wedding. But no, we are definitely deep in planning, but it's been fun.
That's really cool. Like, what's one particular thing that he is like, we have to do it like this?
Oh, I mean, the food cannot be family style, like, or buffet. It has to be plated. There has to be more than 4 hors d'oeuvres per person at cocktail hour. Like, I don't know.
That's classy. I like that. I like that. That's really great. And you always
it's definitely going to be classy because I'm telling you, like New Yorkers, they do it right.
I'm in Pennsylvania. I've lived in New York, and it's not a lie. It's like a thing. Weddings are a thing, not just in the country, but New York specifically. It's like, it's not a joke. It's not a game. It has to be perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning.
Now, are your pets gonna be at the wedding? Like, I'm picturing, a bow tie on Dude, maybe Walt, maybe they'll, come down the aisle one by one.
So we actually spoke about that, and we haven't decided yet. We do have them booked in at a pet hotel in case we decide not to bring them. But wouldn't it be great to I wish you could see Walt right now. He's passed out on the floor. He's so sweet. Oh, I would love to dress them up in like little doggy tuxedos.
Well, if you get to that point, please send pictures, post. We'd love to see it.
I'm gonna pick Walt up right now so we can cuddle while we talk.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
Oh my God, I can't. Walt, hi. He looked over. He's like, what's up?
I know, he's such a sweet boy.
Oh my goodness. So how old is Walt?
So Walt is 3.5 months.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Little babies.
Yeah, he's a big boy. But he should be as big as Dude, but we're not sure yet.
Wow. Oh, they're so precious. They are so, so precious. It's such a blessing. He's like, I know.
I love them so much. And there really is nothing better than coming home to happy animals.
Yes, I love it. So, one question I wanted to ask you, and I'm sure you've gotten this question asked a billion times, but, we're doing this for PWI. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up watching on television?
Well, my go-to, my all-time favorite wrestler in the whole world is Kelly.
Ooh, yes.
That is someone I love her. She's beautiful. I'll never forget when WWE came to Victoria, my hometown in it must have been 2008. And I saw her in this purple outfit, sparkly purple bra and little purple shorts. And she just like blew me away. I just thought she was everything I wanted to be, like sexy, but she was doing gymnastics. And, that was when I didn't really know wrestling, but my opinion on Kelly will never change. She is like the goddess of the world.
Oh my goodness. Really cool pick. I like that. I like that. Who now, out of your peers, are you like really excited to see coming up alongside you?
Well, I mean, definitely Xia Li. I think Xia Li deserves all the success in the world. She's such a good human being. So I'm super happy for her. And then, I mean, really, I'm just really excited to see what the Iconics do next. They've been so supportive of me throughout the past couple of years, and we've just become really great friends. And I'm very interested and excited to see what they decide to do next.
Likewise, as a lot of us are, absolutely. So, for any young girls, coming up in this business, in this industry, it's not easy. And I'm just curious to know, what would your advice be for someone, if they came to you and they said, Chelsea, I love what you've done with your career. I would like to follow in your footsteps. What advice would you have for me as just a young woman coming up in this business?
I think my main thing would be that, it's great to set your sights on something, whatever that goal is, but know that your path to that goal is never going to be just linear and straight. It's always going to be curvy, and you're going to have bumps in the road, and you're going to have times that you stop and start again. And that's what makes that journey and the end goal that much better. WWE was always my end goal. But it's interesting. Once I got to WWE, I realized that wasn't the best part. The best part was the path I took, going to Impact, becoming the Knockouts champion, going to Lucha Underground, main eventing with Pentagon, going to Japan and traveling the world. All of those things are things I never would have got had I just gone straight from A to Z, which would have been training to WWE. This is what, once I was released, this is what made me is my story prior to WWE. So I just want people to focus on the journey and not so much the end goal.
I love that. I 100% love that. Walt seems to love that too.
What a sweet boy.
I love it. So you have a ton of things happening with shows. If you wouldn't mind sharing, I know that I've seen some things happening down south that you're involved with, which is really exciting. So please do share with what you have coming up besides Impact and Ring of Honor.
So I've got, oh my gosh, so many indie shows. I've actually got my calendar here right now, and it's been insane. So I've got Hurricane Pro coming up. I've got Zello Pro coming up. I've got a couple signings in LA. I've got RWR in Texas. And that is just what I have until August, besides, Ring of Honor and Impact and hopefully NWA. It's going to be a busy rest of the year.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Utterly fantastic. People are so excited. They're checking your social media. They keep checking to see what's Chelsea doing next, because it seems like you're just, you're hitting the ground running. You're doing what you got to do. And one thing I personally notice about you that I really, really appreciate and like is the fact that you're very business savvy, which I think you need to be at some point, as a wrestler, but you have goals of going beyond wrestling and doing other things besides the podcast. So would you mind talking about that as well? Like, say if acting is in your future, anything of that nature.
So before I got signed, I used to do a lot of stunt double work and some acting stuff. So that's definitely something that I'm working towards in the future. Right now, I'm focusing on trying to get my podcast signed. And then with that, it would be great if once I got the podcast signed, I could do a merch line and things like that didn't necessarily, they weren't 100% related to wrestling. They were just me, just whatever Chelsea Green, the brand is. But I think in the future, right now, I'm shopping for agents for, acting and stunt doubling and all that stuff. But it's hard to know what's going to be next or what I even want to do, because it changes every week. I think of something new that I want to add to my resume,
Mm-hmm. Who is one actor that you would love to be in a scene with, or a movie or television show?
My favorite person in the world really is Jessica Alba. I just love her so much. And I think it goes way beyond acting. I just love her as a person, as a mom, as a businesswoman. So that would be someone I would love to sit down with and kind of, pick their brain.
I like that pick. And, a lot of people remember her from her days doing a lot of stunt work and action work on television. So that would be really cool seeing you guys
totally
ever put it into the universe and make it happen, right? For sure. Who is one wrestler, whether you've already been in the ring with them or not, that you would like to, you have your eyes set on as really getting back and doing some magic with?
I mean, I guess it would be crazy for me to say anything other than my two girlfriends, Deanna and Britt, the two champs, it would be great if once this Ring of Honor tournament was over, I could challenge the winner of that, the new champion, and become a champion myself. And we could be the kind of trifecta of women's wrestling. That would be ideal. And it would be ideal if we could have a 3-way match.
Oh my good. Okay. So we're going to make that happen. Throw that.
We're putting it out there. We're manifesting.
Exactly. Because it does work. It really does. So having said that, and I manifested this interview with you. So once again, it does work. Manifestation does work, everyone. You got to believe it, trust in it. Thank you so much, Chelsea. This was an honor to meet you, even though, we're a million miles away virtually, but
oh, we're here. We're here virtually.
Exactly. Having a great time. And thank you so much for doing this for us and for meeting with me. And Walt, it's so nice to meet you as well.
My little baby.
He's so cute. Do you have any parting words for our audience? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just, thank you guys so much for supporting me through. I know it's been a weird couple of years with not really seeing my face, but I'm back. And, follow me wherever I end up. And if you guys have time, listen to my quick little snackable podcast every Monday, Green with Envy podcast.
Yes, you guys have to listen to it. Take it from someone that, my attention span with podcasts are not the greatest. So if I'm telling you to listen to this podcast, you have to listen to it. Thank you once again, Chelsea, for buzzing in. Thank you, Walt. And thank you all so much for watching. This is Candace Cordelia, your host at PWI. That's Pro Wrestling Illustrated, where we give you all the great scoops, exclusives, and wonderful interviews with your favorite wrestlers. Stay tuned for more fantastic content right here. This is Candace signing off.